What would you do if you had such an impressive step out that it would let you to plan 7,000-meter drilling program in Nevada? In this episode, we explore how Summa Silver Corp is achieving extraordinary progress in a high-grade mining and what this ambitious progress means for the future in the industry. Stay tuned to discover all the details. Bienvenidos amantes del subsuelo, esto es Charlando de Minas, el primer y único podcast en español dedicado a la inversión minera. ¿Quieres aprender a invertir en recursos naturales? Suscríbete a nuestro podcast. ¿Te gusta nuestro contenido? Dale like, déjanos un comentario. El programa de esta semana está a punto de empezar. Welcome to Charlando de Minas, the Spanish podcast dedicated to mining investment, today in English. This is the original interview, but if you are expecting this in Spanish, don't worry. You will have the dubbed interview in the language of Cervantes. Today, Galek McMahon returned to the program to discuss the program Summa Silver Corp after roughly a year since our last interview. We are here to go deeper on the company's two primary silver and gold exploration projects, the Mogollon project in New Mexico and the Hughes project in Nevada. Summa Silver is focused on exploring high-grade historic mining districts in the US that remain vastly underexplored with modern methods. If you haven't watched our previous interview like a year ago, you can find it in the link below in the comments. You will probably have a better understanding of the beginning of the company and how we arrive at this point. Thanks, Galen, for coming back. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me back on. And I like the introduction you just gave on our company, because the way you say Hughes, and it's just a difference in our languages, but the way you say Hughes, it sounds like huge. And I like
Yeah.
to hear that, huge, you know.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you, Leo.
no, it's fine. And I know that because I am a Spanish speaker, probably some of the things that I talk in English are not the correct accent. But really, when I look at, I always think in huge, anyways. And it's probably a word game, anyways. Um, Probably just to provide some backgrounds of Summa Silver, maybe we can have a look of the two projects, and in the ways we can provide a little bit of background, and then what have been done the company since then, since the last interview.
Sure.
No,
Sure.
in the Mogollon project, it's located in the southwest of New Mexico, and it's the state's largest historic silver producer. The primary focus is the Queen vein system, which has demonstrated a high-grade silver gold mineralization across multiple targets, including Consolidated, South Queen, and Everle. These targets represent a significant exploration potential along a 2-kilometer strike length, with the Queen vein remaining open for expansion in both along strike and depth. Beyond the Queen Bean, Mogollon also encompasses a broader and largely unexplored area of more than 77 kilometers of prospective vein structures, providing further opportunities for discovery. And since our last interview, I'm checking, because what we do in all the project is we keep to our audience with all the news. What we have summarized is that you guys have made a lot of drilling efforts on the Mogollon, confirmed the high-grade silver gold mineralization along the 2 kilometers of strike, including the step-out drilling with over 390 grams per ton of silver equivalent in over 7.4 meters. And a significant upside in both the South Queen and the Everland target. And in the Everland target, you also returned with over a kilo gram of ton for silver equivalent in over 1.65 meters. As well, the company has completed some solemn geological survey, identifying new priority targets for exploration, and plans here, I guess, for a resource-style drilling program. Now, anything that you want to add? I mean, have been a lot of efforts, I think, on the Mogollon with the drilling, and a lot of success with this high grade. And I mean, for me, when I see a small veins for less than a meter, then for me it means difficult. It means
Yeah.
that can cause problems in production. But here we are talking with veins over 5 meters, over 6 meters, over 7 meters, that starts to be really interesting with the high grades.
Yeah. Yeah, and even more than that, where that vein gets to be its thickest, you're looking at 20 to
Mm,
30 meters, even in true thickness in some cases, which for me is very unique. I had never really worked with anything like that before this. So
mm,
when you're drilling things like that, you build ounces very, very quickly. And I think at Mogollon, uh, there's just such big scale potential there that I think the best is probably yet to come. But a lot of work to do, which is of course part of the opportunity there.
Hmm. Hmm. No, no, and not only you build up ounces, but you reduce a lot of risk, because a lot of these small veins, we have seen many examples that when they start production, they end up closing down because the cost just rises, because the veins are complicated to follow sometimes. Then when you have
Yeah, they can be for
yeah,
sure.
this
Yeah, they can be, you can still make really good money on high grade narrow veins, and there's
yeah.
lots of great examples in Nevada of that happening,
Hmm.
for sure. But we're in on this project, we're in the great position that the main vein is very wide, maybe even uniquely wide, and
Hmm.
compares very favorably to some of the better known cousins in Mexico that the Spanish have been mining going back, say, 500 years. It's just an unexplored version of that is the way that we approach it and the way I think about it.
Perfect. And now, if we focus with a huge project, it's located in the central Nevada, and it's part of the prolific Tonopah Silver District, and has several high-grade discovery over the past few years, extending the known silver gold mineralization eastwards from the historic Belmont mine. And in this year, since our last interview, I think in the Hughes projects has been expanded eastwards with the discovery of new veins along the eastern expansion of the Tonopah district. The ruby and the sapphire veins have shown promising results with silver and gold mineralization extending over 6.2 kilometers. And you have a recently a step out that has confirmed a very high grade intercept, such as 1400 grams per ton of silver equivalent over 3 meters. No? Um, then, I mean, there are also really high and good results over the huge project, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was always one of the key questions in this district going back decades is, looking at the extensions on both sides of them, because I really believe that there is no reason that the district shouldn't continue in either direction.
Mm,
And over the past couple years have tested that idea to the east extent of the district, and have had some good results. Of the 6 holes that we've drilled, east of the district to way east of the district, that have been looking for those Tonopah style veins, we're 6 for 6. All 6 of those holes have hit varying degrees of high grade mineralization. Of course, with the high grade being 3 meters of 1,450 grams per ton silver equivalent at Ruby, in a new vein. But also, up at Sapphire, it's 4.2 kilometers east of the district. One hole that was a little bit of a wildcat hole, chasing a geochemical anomaly coupled with a geophysical anomaly, and hit something like a meter and a half of 300 grams per ton silver equivalent, which is, for a first wildcat hole way out into
yeah,
almost the middle of nowhere. It's just a great place to start, just one hole, and you really have to be there to put it into perspective. But I was there a couple weeks ago touring a geologist around, and we went out to that drill pad and stood on it just to see where it was and look back towards town and look back towards the district. And his comment was, "Geez, wow, you guys hit way out here." And it was like, yeah, yeah. So it's like, yeah, I think there's a lot of great potential out here. And honestly, I believe, and we believe, and our geologists have been really really hitting me with this, like going back since we started working on this company, that the eastern extension of the Tonopah district between Ruby and Sapphire,
mm,
is probably one of the best high grade precious metal targets in the state of Nevada. And the more they talk to me about it, the more I agree with them. So yeah, I
no,
think
and it's
I think it's looking
amazing. I
pretty
mean,
good.
I really love these step outs. very far step outs, because it demonstrates the potential. You are not just
Mhm.
being conservative, you are going much further, demonstrating it might not be connected, it might be something completely different, it might be, but you still have the sky over there. You demonstrate all the potential.
Yeah, like it might not be the same vein
Hmm.
or anything like that, but I mean, we look at the ratio of silver to gold in these systems, and in Tonopah, it's about 100 grams of silver for every gram of gold, 100 to 1. And
Hmm.
looking out east of the district, there's still a lot of work to do. It's still very early, but it just geochemically from ratios and other elements, it's like, geez, this looks just like Tonopah. So
Nice.
hey, it's not going to be the same vein. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of veins, but is it the same system? I think the chances are pretty good.
Good, good. Now I will make a couple of questions for each project regarding the great success and the advance in both. No, in the
Sure.
case of the Mogollon, with the success of the last year in the South Queen and Everdell, what is the estimate timeline for releasing a resource estimate? And how do you
Yeah.
plan to scale drilling efforts to expand the Queen vein along the 2 kilometer strike?
Yeah, yeah. So I think in terms of a resource estimate, that's something that myself and the team we think about very closely. Very, very uh, think about that a lot is actually, just the right way to put that. But I would say that the drilling that we've done to date, especially around the consolidated mine,
Hmm.
where we've got 20-ish holes drilled, and I think 8 historical holes that look to be verified pretty closely. That's drilled at what would support an inferred resource. But a matter of time and when we put that out is really a key question for our company, and there's two ways to look at that. And I think the first one is that, okay, well, if I just have a resource out on 500 meters, and the strike length to start is 2 kilometers, but the resource drilling is really only in that 500 meters, well, am I selling us short, and will that be viewed as a finish line instead of what it really is, which is
Yeah,
just the start line? Right.
yeah.
Okay. So that's one way to look at it. Right. But the other way to look at it is that uh, as precious metals start to come into more of the mainstream, which I think is what we're seeing, and
Mm.
we have a unique American silver project, or two of them really, you know at what point does a generalist investor that may be a big fund manager from New York, need is looking for silver assets, and there's just so few of them, that at what point does this person say, okay, like all these companies with resources, no matter what they are, I'm just going to buy them because there's so few American
Yeah.
silver opportunities, right? So I just that's just a way of me not really answering your question.
Yeah, I know.
So it's something that excuse me. So I'm
No,
not,
no,
it's something, but it's something that we
it's
think
fine.
about
I mean,
pretty seriously.
I think that there is a dichotomy, no, in a way that
A
if
dichotomy.
you don't publish any resource estimate, the feeling from investors is, well, they have nothing or they don't have enough to publish anything. If you publish something,
Yeah.
it might look that, well, this is it, guys. This is all the effort that I could do in short term. Then I publish this, and I will continue work further. Then where is the balance here? It's complicated, but it's true that you have done a lot of work, and then we will talk about with all the money that you have raised and how to use it, and maybe it's part from here, but you will need at some point to take something out. Otherwise, people will believe that you continue drilling, drilling, drilling without taking anything out and without
That's right.
putting at least an initial resource over there.
So what's the right balance there? What's the tipping point? I don't know what the answer to that is, but I agree with everything you said.
Well, I think that the tipping point from the investor point of view, it depends of the numbers that you will take. If these 500 meters or whatever is a decent resource that might support something else and might meaning something else, then it's fine. If it's very little, then it's obviously not fine. I mean, it all depends how much material do you guys have, and what is the quality of it.
Yeah, and then what is that relative to our current valuation?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's true. I mean, and this is another question that I have, because valuation of the company, I mean, has some volatility, but it remains flat over a year, even though you clearly have advanced in exploration and taking and the risk in the project. Let's say in that way, but investors haven't not seen it that way, even though the precious metals have been rising. Silver and gold both have much more value. No, then what do
Yes.
you have to demonstrate to them, or what do you have to offer, or maybe you have to offer something different?
Yeah, it's just that balance, right? It's
Yeah,
that balance, and the timing is, something that you want to get right, and something that we take pretty seriously. But at the end of the day, look, we've got a lot of ounces drilled on both of these projects, and there's a
I agree.
lot of room to grow. And if I didn't see at least a viable path to 100 million ounces on each one, we wouldn't be working on them. That for me,
Okay,
I
then.
need to at least see that. I don't
Okay,
think we're there yet, but I need to at least see that path to 100 million ounces on both projects, or else, what are we doing?
great. You have given me now an answer. You have given me now a value. Like when these guys will have something close or that you can foresee these 100,000 ounces, there will be a resource. Then this is
Well, you know
great.
what? I don't want to get to that. I think I would definitely consider putting out resources that were less than that. But
Okay,
it's
yeah.
just, in time, do I see that potential there? Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, then the next question is when do you think that you will see that potential there?
I think, like, going back to your point about, hey, we've done a lot of drilling, and at some point investors say, okay, now's the time, right? And I think we're closer to that, okay, now's the time, point in time.
Okay,
But I'd look for something for sure in the next, uh, you know 6 months or so, 12 months or so. I want maybe we get through one
great.
more drill program, what we're planning in Tonopah, and see where we're at.
Perfect. Um,
Yeah,
then in the Mogollon district, you have a lot of historical data, no, and you have been really successful in drilling using part of this historical data. But from the
yeah.
investor's point of view, my question it would be, how reliable is this historical data, and how do you guys integrate this into the current exploration in order to the risk, and as well improve, no, the drilling accuracy of the new drillings and the step out, and for looking for more resources.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like, whenever it comes to historic data, the reliability of it always varies based on the source. And in these old places, you have information that goes back to the beginning, maybe 100 years ago. And sometimes that is actually very good. You also have information maybe from drilling that was done, especially at Mogollon. There was some drilling done in the 80s. And I would say that's been pretty good to good as well. But I mean, what it comes down to is using all the information you have and integrating all the information you have to make the best exploration decisions. And I think you alluded to this in your question. And more is always, always better. But at the same time, like, think back, like, how they did mining and exploration, 100 years ago. They just didn't have the
Yeah.
tools that we have today. And when it comes to data integration, the 3D mining software that we use just to visualize targets and plan our drill holes and map the geology is it's just very, very different. It allows you to parse down complex sets of data, and it's a lot of work to get all the data in and digitized so you can use it in a way that helps you visualize. But when you have all of that done, it really speeds up the exploration process, and things start just, as geologists, things just start coming at us, that, okay, look, there's a great target. And it's hard for me to explain, but when you can really visualize everything in 3D and think in 3D,
Yeah.
even 4D, if you think about the fourth dimension being time, but that's, a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
Then you've got power. And then you can really step up and do things pretty quickly and very efficiently. And I think if you look at the way we've operated on both projects, like, I don't think we've put out a series of bad holes ever, right? And I think that really does speak to the data integration process, and
A
how
lot.
seriously that we take all this historic data, and to use it to be as efficient as possible with the drill meters, and so far so good. There's still a lot of silver left to find, but also, all that being said, like, both of these projects are really strong. It's not like we're, God's gift to silver exploration by any means. It's
Mm.
just using all of the tools we have to be as efficient as possible is something that we all take, we all think about a lot.
Okay. Now let's move to the Nevada project. Uh, with the recent discoveries in the east of the Topona mining district, how do you plan to systematically test these 6.2 kilometers of the strength land? And what milestones should investors look at for the next 12 months to evaluate the progress of these step out drillings?
Yeah. Well, there's two facets to that question, and I think one evaluating that over the 6.2 kilometers trend.
Yeah,
Well, about 4 kilometers of that is east of the district. And we've done most of our work so far in the old mining district. That's where like that really, really detailed 3D modeling of historic data has really helped us. And every hole that we drill in that area, I'd say incrementally adds ounces, which is what we've been doing. But for the extension, okay, well, there's 4.2 kilometers of extension territory east of the district for us to look at. And the way I started thinking about this was okay, go back to the part of the district. That was about a 4 kilometer trend length or strike length, produced about 175 million ounces of silver and 1.85 million ounces of gold at grades of 1200 ish grams per ton silver equivalent between about 1900 and 1950. Okay, that's 4 kilometers. Well, we've got a 4 kilometer extension, say, where the veins ran into a fault zone in the historic part of the district, and the old time miners more or less lost the veins on the far side of that fault. So, really, no reason to believe that the district doesn't continue out to the east undercover. So, there's really two main questions that I
yeah,
would like to answer. Number one, if there was 175 million ounces of silver produced in the historic part of the district, and how much is left out to the east of the district that's not unexplored? I mean, like that's the type of target, that's the type of swing we're trying to take. That's number one.
mm,
Number two, how do we find the main structure out there? The vein that's 5 meters wide and 1,000 grams per ton. Which was called different names in different parts of Tonopah, but in one place it's called the Mizpah vein. In the Belmont mine, it's called the Belmont vein. Where is that main vein east of the district, and how do we find that? And that's what we're trying to take a shot at with drilling that's going to start here in about a month east of the district. So we'll be number one following up on that hole that was 3 meters of 1450 grams per ton silver equivalent, and that'll give us a real understanding of like which way the veins are moving, you know.
yeah,
And from there we'll plan additional holes, probably several of which will include a fence across the whole stratigraphy and the whole vein system because
yeah,
to try to find that main vein because Tonopah, the vein district where the veins go east and west, which is what we're looking for, might be 700 to 1,000 meters wide, in that window, which there will be multiple veins, dozens of veins, and now where's the main one? So we think that drilling offensive holes in the right place, maybe it's 3 holes across that,
yeah.
is a good way to take a shot at that.
Nice. Um, a year ago, our last question was, which one of the two projects do you think that has more potential? Which one do you prioritize? And you told
Yeah.
me like, I will answer that in 6 months. You know, we are
Sounds like
12
something I would say. Yeah.
we are 12 months from there. And I think that if I repeat the question, you will tell me exactly the same answer. Uh,
Yeah.
is that right?
You know what? Like, I think that right now, you know, high grade ounces in Nevada are very valuable. And the fact that we've got a neighbor, Blackrock Silver, which is, basically we share a property boundary. It's the same mineral
Mm,
system. Some of the veins cross the property boundary. We've got a neighbor right beside us that has a 100 million ounce inferred resource estimate and
mm,
a PEA that's north of $300 million, US dollars. I think that for us, we want to concentrate in Nevada for this next program to
mm,
see what we've got, demonstrate the upsize potential on ours because I just think that the ounces there are very very valuable. Now, of
mm,
course, we've got two projects, both of which have great potential, great geological potential, and it only takes one drill hole to really change the focus. But for the foreseeable future, for the upcoming drilling,
mm.
probably for most of the rest of this year and next year, obviously the rest of this year, but
But
a
next
good
year,
part
yeah,
of
I
next year
understand. Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
say for the next year, we'll be absolutely more focused in Nevada than we will be in New Mexico.
Great. I mean, the recent ATM equity program no allows you up to $5 million dollars for funding. How do you intend to allocate these funds? And I guess that it will be mainly on the huge project. And what are the milestones that the investors can expect, no, before any other capital raising is necessary?
Yeah, so for the ATM, I think more importantly, just last week we closed a $6.5 million
Okay.
equity financing as well. So that really gives us a good war chest to go out and drill everything that we want to drill in Nevada. But the idea of the ATM was just to have it there as an option. I don't necessarily want to go out and use it for
Okay.
$5 million, but if there's a good day in the market, or say like, I'll give you an example. We've seen ETFs come into our stock, and then in one day, the stock will go up 30%. The next day it'll come down 30.
Yeah.
Maybe on a day like that, like, we might want to access the ATM and raise a little bit of money. So
Okay.
that's basically it. It's just a financing option that, you know, at the time gave us, I would say, just different
Flexibility.
options, really. Yeah, exactly, to go out and put a little bit of money away. So we're not in a position, if the markets, were really, really bad, we're not in a position where we have to go out and do something that would hurt shareholders with a really bad financing.
Then how much cash do you have now? You have 6.5
So,
then?
we're at about, I would say, 7.5 right now.
And with $7.5 million, do you plan? I mean, you can do all the drilling that you are planning to do in Nevada.
Yeah, yeah, and then some. So right now we're planning a 7,000 meter drilling program in Nevada to start in early December.
Mhm.
And we're more than well enough financed for that. That will be in the neighborhood of, we're working on the budget now, but say 4 to 4.5 million Canadian, I believe. So we have a lot,
The-
a lot of optionality there, and
uh,
if we're successful, and I'd hope to say when we're successful, we
uh,
can expand from there as necessary.
I will say that this year you had a lot of success on the drilling, but you have been quite conservative, let's say in that way. Few holes or reduce the number of holes, but all of them you have been successful, even with the step out. Uh, Now with this funding and with this project in Nevada, we will see a little bit more aggressive drilling. We'll see something that it might be not as conservative as you have been the last year.
Absolutely. That's exactly correct. We're now well financed to go out and be aggressive in Nevada. And what we did over the last year, I think the market conditions for junior explorers
Mm.
weren't very good. And I remember we would put out good drill holes, and like, the market
Nothing.
wouldn't react. It seemed to be that the only thing that would push our stock one way or the other was sentiment in silver.
Yeah.
So we made the decision tactically to kind of go a little bit slower, preserve capital, preserve the share structure, which is still in great shape,
Hmm.
to get ready for a time when investors were a little more interested in silver exploration stocks, and then get back to work in an aggressive way. And I think we're there now. I mean, silver's what, over $32 today. I mean, it's run up higher than that in the last little while.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get the timing right. Nobody has a crystal ball, but we're going to get back to work more aggressively now, starting in Nevada in about a month.
Mm, Talking about the feeling, have you seen that investors approach differently now that has a better feeling for silver?
Yeah, I think yes.
Uh,
I think for sure. I think we've started to see some of the silver names start to move just in the last month. So I'm betting yes. I'm betting that it's coming soon.
Great. Talking about permitting, you have two projects, one in New Mexico, one in Nevada. I would say that Nevada is well known for all silver and gold, and we cannot expect any problems on permitting there. What about New Mexico? I mean,
Yeah.
will be complicated to have permits there, and what is the extension of the permits? Maybe now for exploration or advanced exploration it's fine, but eventually for production it will be much more complicated. How do you foresee this?
Well, yeah. First of all, like the comment you made about Nevada is absolutely correct. So
Uh,
we drill. We've done a lot of our work on private property, and in
mm,
Nevada on private property, I mean, you don't even need a permit to show up and start drilling. You can just show up and start drilling. Which for me, that's the first time I've ever experienced
mm,
that. So all good. That's great. New Mexico is also pretty good. I mean, we operate, all of our drilling is done on private property as well, which means we've permitted with the state authorities there. And there's not that much. The other thing that's interesting and I think good about New Mexico is that there's not that much exploration there right now. So you really, when you're working with the state permitting people, you really have a direct line to them, and you can really communicate closely with them, um, in a very positive way. So, so far we've been quite happy with the process in New Mexico. I would compare it to some of the provinces in Canada, perhaps British Columbia, something like
okay.
that, just in my experience. Yeah. But oh, the next part of the question, and moving to production. Well, because we're building a critical mass on private property in New Mexico, there's a permitting path for small scale underground mines that have a surface footprint of, I believe, 10 acres or less, which for something that we'd be planning there, an underground vein deposit. Um, is of course very doable.
Mm,
Now, like anywhere, I think it's safe to say as well that anywhere in the third world, permitting is or anywhere in the third world. I'm very tired. I've been traveling a lot. Anywhere in the first world, permitting is something that takes time, effort, and you really have to make sure that you do all of your work that leads up to that correctly. And fine, we're going to do that anyways, right? Any good operator is going to do that anyways. So
mm.
I mean, what you do in situations like this is just, one thing at a time, plan for the future, do as many of like the environmental surveys that you can do now, as you plan for the future. So that's a little bit about our approach to permitting in New Mexico.
Perfect. Um, the next question it will be regarding possible new merchant acquisitions. In some interviews in the past, I have seen that it's open, no, to the possibility to either make a merge or an acquisition. There is any ongoing discussions, any potential partner, any particular large silver producer that maybe it's moving right now with the hitting of the silver price? Anything to comment?
Yeah, well, no, not officially, but I mean, it's safe to
Yeah.
say that, of course, we're always looking for ways to add value to the company and regularly in discussions with many different parties,
Mm,
as time goes on. So that's really all I can say on that one. But I will say that look, like we've got two assets in the U.S. where silver deposits and districts are just very rare, and therefore the projects are valuable. So, let's see how things develop. But our philosophy is that, we'll take these projects as far as we can in the time that we have with them and make the best decisions, make the decisions that are in the best interest of all of our shareholders when and if those decisions need to be made.
yeah, this is means another question for the long term of the projects, right? Does you guys have in mind an exit strategy in a way like, yeah, we have two good projects. Now we, for example, not for the plan that you are doing, yeah, we work hard on Nevada. Probably there will be a big player that take at this project. Then with this, we have a lot of funding that allows either to acquire another project and develop the Mogollon and make it really a mine because we will have the funding from this. Is this a possibility? Is something that you look for? Or you guys are planning like, yeah, we are really going to production, then we take care of this project like we are going to do all the production, not just to add ounces on there.
I think that you're always building these companies with the next step in mind. So you
Yeah.
want to be ready for the next step because, our philosophy is to take it as far as we can. So it's built for purpose, but at the same time, like you're never going to see me out here saying, "Okay, this is for sale." I just don't agree with that philosophy at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah.
We're going to take this as far as we can and be as aggressive as possible
Huh.
in the time that we have.
Great. Um, do you want to do any comment about the share price of the company? I mean, I agree with you that you guys have take care a lot of the number of shares, and you haven't diluted much, and you have working really well with capital. However, gold and silver have increased a lot during the last 12 months, let's say. But the last time that I checked, yeah, it was volatility and probably maybe was ETFs and so. But the share price remained flat. Uh, how do you see this? And if you have any comment for the investors that are in and don't see the company moving with the sentiment of precious metals?
Yeah, you know what? I think that it's a marathon, not a sprint, to be honest with you.
Mm,
And when capital comes into the junior markets, and especially silver, there's just so few names to buy that things can move very quickly. So, I've tried to position myself accordingly. We've tried to keep the company in a position with the tight share structure that it can benefit accordingly. So that's a lot. That's a lot of it. But also just the way I like to view it is that good silver assets are really hard to find. High grade silver assets are really hard to find. All of those two things, and then in the United States,
mm,
when we have a real market for precious metals, I think that we put ourselves, and I hope the best for shareholders to benefit to the maximum amount. Even though in the last year, if you look at our 12-month chart, it's about
mm,
flat. When you see that, like, we'll have like a month of good sentiment in silver, the stock will go from 40 cents to 60 cents in 2 weeks, right? So
yeah.
imagine that lasts for a year, right? That's the type of thing that I'm hoping we're in for. And
Mhm.
that's how I've at least positioned myself.
Great. Then the last question for me, I think that we have reviewed all the company news for the last year, making a good summary. We have taken a little bit what is the priorities of the project. But just to summarize, someone that will comes today as an investor, someone that have seen this interview and have decided, yeah, I like Summa Silver, I will go in. What they can obtain in 12 months from now?
Yeah, what can in terms of value add for the
Yeah,
company
yeah,
is
in
really
terms of
what you're
value,
saying. Yeah.
what they can expect,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I think they can expect us aggressively exploring, to begin with, the Tonopah project.
Mhm,
I think that it's safe to say I'm looking very closely at putting out mineral resources if I think those numbers will benefit the company.
mm,
And I also think that, hey, and with the benefit of rising silver prices, I think that we're, especially if you're a North American investor. I know that most of you guys are European, but if you're an American and North American investor, like, there's only a few silver names that are out there, and ours is probably getting to be the point of a must own. And I'm going to look to add value in the next year, in the next 12 months, to make that, a certainty.
perfect. A final question that just came to my mind because
Sure.
tomorrow it will be the U.S. elections. This probably will be like out in a couple of weeks, but in the time of the recording, tomorrow is the U.S. election. How do you see uh, mining CEO of a junior company with both assets in the U.S. this election? And do you think that the business will change with either of the candidates? And how is your feeling about?
You know what? No, I don't. I think there'll be differences with each of the candidates for
Mm,
sure. But look, there's a really this emerging theme of getting our metals, from domestic sources, and the U.S. is one of these places that to this day is still very, very underexplored. I was listening to two podcasts. I listened to Trump on one podcast
mm,
about a week ago, and he even brought up rare earth elements, and
mm,
the need for us to break the reliance on places like China. And then I listened to a Democratic senator on the same podcast, John Fetterman. Two guys that vastly different worldviews,
mm,
and he made the same comment. So I think there's cross aisle, in the United States, cross aisle support for domestic supply of important metals. Silver is a very, very important metal, when we think about EVs, when we think about
yeah.
solar panel and renewable energies. That I'm fairly positive in either direction. that responsible development of these important metals domestically will be supported by both sides of the aisle, and all politicians, or not all politicians, but
Yeah,
uh, uh, the
both sides.
in a consensus way in the United States.
Perfect, Galen. Thank you very much for this interview. I think that we have a good overview of the company and what we can expect for the next year. I hope that we can talk again the next year and see all
Yeah,
the progress made in Nevada, because I am really expecting for this aggressive drilling and can explain all of this to the followers of the program. Thank you very much for being
a-
here today.
absolutely. Thanks very much for the time, and it's good to get into the details.
Descargo de responsabilidad. Los contenidos que aparecen en Charlando de Minas no son recomendación de inversión. Amadeo Bonet y sus invitados no son asesores de inversión. Los autores pueden tener algún interés en las compañías que se mencionan en esta publicación. Igualmente pueden tener sesgos y no ser imparciales. La información en esta publicación y de todas otras de Charlando de Minas son impersonales por naturaleza y de carácter generalista, y deben ser consideradas como un producto de entretenimiento. Recuerda que el riesgo mínimo de cualquier inversión mencionada en este vídeo es el 100% del capital. Antes de tomar ninguna decisión de inversión, es imprescindible que consultes a un asesor de inversores cualificado y con experiencia. Estas emisiones son un relato personal de mi aprendizaje en el mundo de los recursos naturales. En este podcast intentaremos traer empresas, comentar tesis de inversión y hablar con gente relevante en el sector. Si te gusta, dale like y suscríbete. Soy Amadeo Bonet y esto es Charlando de Minas.